the CEO of Gibson Guitar, Mr. Henry Juszkiewicz, is on the phone with us right now, live. And as I unmute him, I want to welcome you to the show, sir.
Well, thank you very much for having me and for spending a moment to think about Gibson Guitar.
Before we get into all of the topic at hand, it's kind of humorous. My son-in-law was at my house just a little bit ago, and when he heard I was going to interview you, he said, "Oh," and it's kind of totally off base here, and it kind of tells you what his age is. He's a really young guy, great guy. But he said, "Ask him what a '69 Les Paul Classic is worth."
Wow. Wow, I don't actually know, but it's a great year for that particular instrument. It's probably worth quite a bit.
Well, and I said, I'm guessing he probably won't know the answer to that. But he said, "Dad, you gotta ask him." And I said, "Okay, I'll get that in." So got that out of the way right at the first. But
well, you were right.
The reason we asked you and wanted you to be here is, there's a great concern out there about the reasoning why this story is even happening. We go back to the initial raid that happened with you folks back in 2009, and it concerns me greatly that the government can come into a business, basically shut you down while they do what they're doing, seize material, and not give you a reason why they did that. And that's what happened, wasn't it, sir?
That's exactly what happened, and I still have a hard time believing that could happen in this country. But it happened not only once, but twice, and it has, kept us in limbo for over 2 years, because they, in fact, are very secretive, and initially didn't even tell us why, what kind of cause could have caused such a aggressive and hostile action.
And at what point did you finally find out the reason of the initial raid? Was it when you finally had to sue the government? Is that when you found out?
Exactly. After months, we eventually filed suit to recover the goods that they seized from our factory, and we have the right to do that. And so we've been in federal court in Nashville, Tennessee, trying to recover the goods, and of course we have to present our case why we feel the goods were legitimate, which we have done.
And so I understand that the government is doing all that they can do to hold the case up and not let it actually get into a decision-making.
Exactly right. After a year and 80,000 documents and tens of thousands of dollars in legal fees, the government has filed a motion to stay the case, meaning to stop the case and prevent it from concluding and allowing the judge to make a decision.
And has the judge ruled on their stay, or is that the next level? The judge is currently thinking about it, and
we'll see what happens.
Well, let's kind of look at exactly what it is that they say is the problem, which after we talk about this, I'm sure most people are going to scratch their heads and say, "You're kidding me." But from what I understand, the fingerboards that you guys use are made of wood that isn't totally finished in Madagascar. And you bring that over to your places here in America, and your workers finish that and then do the rest of the work that they have to do. Am I right on that?
That's right. Initially, the government was concerned about wood from Madagascar. Subsequent to the raid, we stopped using. We haven't been using wood from Madagascar. We stopped as soon as we knew someone had a problem with it, i.e. the raid. Now, this recent raid, which took place 2 weeks ago, was about wood from India. So, that's a different country with different laws and a different issue.
And so the Madagascar issue, and I understand that they told you that if they would have finished the fingerboards in Madagascar, then that would have been okay.
Exactly right. So, in fact, the government went so far as to say that in one of their legal documents that we should put a factory and just make guitars in Madagascar.
Oh, my. We've got over 9% unemployment, and they suggest you move operations out of the country. That's
unbelievable, but true.
Now, according to documents that you have from the government over there, it's not illegal to do what you folks were doing by finishing the products that were started in Madagascar. Am I correct there as well?
Right. We have documents from numerous government officials that say that exporting those fingerboards was perfectly legal.
And so kind of like the government here in America is overriding the government over there, even though it's the government over there whose law that you supposedly were.
That's exactly right.
I hate to say breaking because they say you're not breaking the law. So
it's very arrogant, for our country to tell another country sort of how they should do business, in my opinion.
Now, the latest raid, was it a little more? Well, I mean, you had to shut production down. Was it a little more intimidating than the first one, or were they a little more forceful?
It was, when people come in with guns and evacuate. It's a horrible situation. It frightens everyone. The second raid was more severe in the fact that they went into 3 different factories plus our corporate headquarters simultaneously. The first raid, they only raided 1 factory. So this was a much more extensive situation. They grabbed, most of our fingerboard stock, which is what we require to produce guitars, well over 10,000 pieces that they took with them, and we are still trying to recover our production from that.
Well, to try to get at any reasons why, are your workers unionized?
No, they're not.
Okay. And I had a feeling that was going to be the answer. And you yourself would consider yourself a conservative, I believe. Is that correct?
I'm on the more conservative side, yes.
And, there's a lot of information out there about another company that does basically the same thing, has done the same thing that you do, and no raids or no problems. Can you expound on that a little bit?
Well, I will say that our competitors in the U.S. use the same materials, i.e. fingerboards from India, that we do, and they have not. They continue to do that, and are not having any problems with the government. Now, as to why that is, I don't know personally, and there has been a lot of folks that say it's probably due to politics. It may be. I don't know, and I'm not going to say anything I don't know factually.
Right. So with this latest raid, did they seize a lot of, you said most of your fingerboards. How does that, does that put you out of business temporarily? What do you do to make up for that?
Well, we're struggling to continue production right now, and there is a very real possibility we will be completely out of parts, so that we are not going to be able to produce in the next week to 2 weeks. We're desperately trying to get alternative sources of this product, and we'll see what happens.
One of our listeners that is in our chat room wants me to just say, do you feel that your company is being, or you personally maybe, are being unfairly singled out? And I know you said you don't know why, but is there any reason that they would do that you can think of?
I really don't know. That's a question everyone has been asking. It's a question I've asked myself. All I can say is this is an extraordinary. We're talking about, a very simple matter of importing parts for the manufacture of guitars. We've been doing the exact same thing for over 17 years, regularly, with no problems. Now, all of a sudden, we have people with guns coming and shutting us down with no notice of any kind, and then confiscating a substantial amount of our material and preventing us from manufacturing guitars and severely injuring the business, costing us millions of dollars, and yet no charges have been filed. That's extraordinary. It's even if there was some kind of problem, the fact that they have gone to such a hostile and violent manner in addressing it tells me that somebody has an agenda, and I don't know what it is, but it's certainly there's an agenda there.
And let me just clarify, you said millions of dollars that they have cost you.
Millions of dollars, yes.
And you would certainly think if the government was going to take those extreme measures that they would at least give you some answers as to why.
Yes, say, this is what you guys are doing wrong. This is how you can correct that. This is how you can continue to work and be in business. And instead, we are faced with, well, that's sealed. We can't tell you. You're under investigation for 2 years. And the hammer can drop at any time, and substantially injuring the people that work there, injuring our company, or injuring our reputation.
Well, I know that we're just about out of time here with you, but I do have a couple people on the phone with me that would like to ask a question or two here. If you got just a couple more minutes.
Okay, just I have to run, but I'll answer one or two questions. Sure.
Okay, thank you. Snooper, are you on the phone here, buddy?
Yes, sir.
What would you like to say to our new friend here?
Well, God bless you for what you're going through. One thing I wanted to know, I've been reading about this. I've written about it a couple times. From what I understand, someone told Gibson Guitars that if you use Madagascar labor